Hi, welcome back. By the time you see this, it will have been another week since my last video. For me, it is the next day because I just couldn't really wait anymore. I think I've got I've been cutting. I've got the size figured out that I want, and I've figured out my mistake, even though I don't know why it's wrong, if that makes sense. Hey, Joe from the future here. So the problem was actually much more simply explained than what I was about to show you there in the moment. When I'm doing 2 half laps in a circle, you only need to add the length of 1 half lap to the dimensions because the other side removes that length. So I added 1.5 inches, one 1.5 inch segment too many. I should have only added 1.5 inches total, since that's the width of the half lap all the way around. So there you go. Back to the video. Okay, here's the piece at the correct size now. These are the blanks for the second hoop before I cut the half lap. That is how far off it was. Blossoms are going to come out soon on whatever these trees are. I really like this street. The entire length of the street is lined with these trees, and it's all white in the spring. But today is 40 degrees and very windy and pretty uncomfortable. One of the challenges with this build is that I can't really go to any stores to buy material. Normally that's not a big deal because you don't need a lot of different stuff. Here though, because I'm working with weird sizes and I'm doing everything myself, making the hoops, making the hardware, stuff comes up. I am all out of MDF. This one is just big enough to catch the triangles and the edges of one of the hoop blanks. The other hoop blank is just not in the garbage, it's just waiting. The other hoop blank doesn't quite fit because it was the first of the 2 that I made, and I left the segments just a little bit longer. It does pose a problem for rounding them. But what I'll do is I will round one of them here and then I will stick the two together with some double-sided tape, and then I'll flush trim the other one. That is really cool. You know, it's a shame. My bandsaw blade is broken, so I can't trim off all this extra, or most of the extra, with something a little bit more efficient, and with less risk of chip out. So I gotta be careful. Funny, we've lived in this house, just renting it. We've lived here for almost 4 years now, and we've got, I mean, this house has a ridiculous deck. It's just huge. So, ground level deck up to a second floor deck, and yes, those are bones. Those are cow bones. They are for a future project. Yes. A future drum project. I'm excited about this one, but not yet. And since we never used the deck, I don't mind storing something like cow bones up here, and it's a good place to come, have some natural light, be away from the noise of the house, and show you that we now have a perfect fit. That fit is quite a bit more perfect than we need, because that will not leave room for the head, but I needed to get an exact dimension for the outside diameter of the shell, which is hard to measure precisely because of the bearing edge, but it is exactly 14¼ inches, which is actually what I thought, but I need to order natural calfskin heads. I was going to make my own heads. I think I talked about that early on. I'm not going to do that. It looks like I can actually have calfskin heads made custom size for this drum at about the same price it would cost me to order all the materials and make them myself, and obviously they're going to be better done. So I need to make sure I hit the exact right dimension. Now, the hoops are not done yet, of course, but this first step is finally done. Happy mid-April. Can you believe this weather? It's like the weather's decided, everyone's inside anyway, so let's do whatever. Okay, I need to explain a little bit. This ring, well, first, was too big for any of the face plates I have for the turning jig, so I mounted on some chunks of 2x4 that I flattened with the rest of the disc, with the rest of the ring, to make sure I could turn it over the rounding jig, over the router, which I've already done. You can see this line right here. From here down needs to be inset so that it can fit inside this hoop right here. I'm going to offset it so that we are very strong. I want to give it just a little bit of extra strength, and I also want to provide a lip for rim shots and cross sticks and that kind of thing. This will only be done on the top hoop. The bottom hoop doesn't need it, and so only have to do this on one side. Something just so cool and satisfying about a neatly milled circle. It looks like I went just a quarter turn too far, because there's just, you can see, just the smallest amount of give in there. It's been a few hours. I've got one kid upstairs practicing the cello, another kid's in bed, and you ever have those moments where you're just sort of all over the place and things don't go quite the way you want them to, or you're distracted and you realize later that you should have taken more care or been slower or planned a little bit more? Thought that I had planned enough, that I had gotten everything ironed out. There's one problem for sure, and there might be a second one. Okay, the first problem may not be a serious problem. It's a consequence, first, of being a little bit hasty when I cut the interior of the main part of the hoop, not the insert, but the main part of the hoop, and went just a fraction too far. When I clamped this in, I eventually clamped too hard, and one of the end grain glue joints broke. This could be an interesting opportunity to put a piece of contrasting wood just in that one little spot, and I think that's what I'm actually going to do. Either use a piece of walnut or a piece of black wood or catalogs. Probably walnut because I want it to stay domestic species. The other problem, I'm not sure how it happened. And I don't know how well you can or will be able to see. In fact, I'm not even sure yet because the glue is not completely cured because it was pretty thick in some of these areas. There is a pencil line, so I can get it to focus. There's a pencil line there that is just above the glue joint. But I can't tell if the joint closed all the way, which really bums me out because I had spent some real time. I mean, it was perfectly flat. It shouldn't have had any problem closing, but I think that it might have. It's frustrating. I don't want to have to remake the hoops. I really don't want to have to remake the hoops. They've been a lot of work. I'm really happy with the wood species. If I have to do it, I have to do it. But we'll wait and see what the result is. Now I'm rambling. I'm going to stop rambling because this video is getting long. And so right now, the closing shots are going to be this. I'm going to wrap up the video by showing this.